how they were trying to do it actually. Right? Okay, let's go on. Okay. Now, I think most of you are aware of augmented reality and virtual reality, right? So, augmented reality, the easiest example I think all of us can relate to is about Lenskart. Lenskart?
Yes.
What does it tell? It tells us that what could be the frame that would suit our face, right? So that's what it does. So that's an example of augmented reality. So the physical environment is getting augmented with the software. So that's a cyber physical tool that we're talking about. So similarly, I think Pokemon Go is again one very talked about example about augmented reality. So there is no Bulbasaur, there's nothing there, but people think that there's a dinosaur in front and they try to catch it, and then they walk, then they move and things like that, and they also communicate with their friends as well. So that's again an interesting example of augmented reality. Now with the data that is getting generated from this augmented reality solutions, I can then, if it is Lenskart, I get to know that what type of frames are mostly preferred in a particular locality or a particular group of people, etc. And that type of that type of frames I could actually manufacture. That's again an interesting solution that I can do. Also, what I can do is that in case of amusement parks also, now some of these are also available on an augmented reality platform. So that actually increases the attraction to go to those amusement parks as well. Let's go to the next one, please. Yeah, so in case of, this is I think again, some of you must already have experienced it in movie halls also, where the fourth dimension is trying to shake the chair as well. So 3 dimensions already there, the fourth dimension is trying to shake the chair or trying to spray some water onto you and things like that, right? So that's the fourth dimension actually, right? So this is again based on data, because what is happening in the movie is synchronized with that. They are doing another activity on the inside the movie hall, right? So that could be another interesting example having AI being used here. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, so metaverse is also another interesting application where, which is also now, or which was actually being talked about as one interesting solution for trying to provide some sort of a immersive experience to the customer, right? So the experience has to be as immersive as possible. So we wear some sort of a glasses, and then we should be getting an immersive experience when we are on this platform, right? So Roblox is an example of metaverse. Some of you must have seen kids playing games on Roblox. Roblox had become a very famous during this COVID period, where people or kids were playing a lot of online games, and interestingly, their customer base is between 13 to 16 years actually. So that's the number, that's the age group where the customers are, right? So this metaverse is again a very interesting platform where we could actually communicate amongst ourselves. We could do activities which we can do in the physical world, and we get transported into the virtual world. And many companies in India have started using metaverse for their onboarding purposes. That's number one. Number two is that, say for example, I have to do a very complicated operation on a patient. Now, the patient is very old, and it's very difficult to do that operation. So in that case, what I could do is that I could use a metaverse based solution, and I could actually do a rehearsal on that platform before I go and operate the patient. And the AI model can throw me multiple options based on which I could decide that which would be a better way to go about doing the operation without having too much of blood loss and things like that. Right? That is also possible using a metaverse solution. Let's go. Yes. So we're talking about advertisements. So advertisements, as we know, is one mechanism by which we can communicate to our customers, as we were talking about. But there could be other ways. So now what happens is that how can the advertisement be made more immersive in nature, right? So people have, like for example, Nike, Gucci, even Tata Tea was also advertising on the metaverse platform, where what happens is that we can actually have an avatar of ourselves and we can actually interact on that platform, and that becomes a very immersive experience, and then customers feel very attached to that brand, and then they go and probably make a buy on the physical brand, a physical item of that brand in reality as well. So this is again one very interesting sort of applications which have started in for advertisements globally, and in India also a couple of companies have also started working on it. Let's go to the next one, please. Okay. Yeah. थोड़ा सा ऊपर. हाँ बस. Sorry. आप भी कर सकते हो. Yeah, so let's keep it there. Yeah, so say for example, this is a amusement park, I think, right? So it's an amusement park. We all know about amusement parks, right? So what they were trying to figure out is that who goes to this park, right? So what they figured out is that they did an analysis of the data in terms of how many people came to the park and what was the gender of the people who came to the park, right? So they found out that it was almost 50-50% that men and women came to the park, right? Now from this data, what can I do in terms of increasing my revenues for this amusement park? That's the problem that we're trying to solve. Right, now if I keep too many games which are aimed at men, will it be helpful? Or if I keep too many games which are aimed at women, will it be helpful? No, because it's 50-50% which is coming to this part. So I have to have a very balanced sort of a set of games that I have in this part, because there is no particular type of gender which is coming. There's almost equal number of men and women who come to this park, right? So if I have to increase the revenue for this park, I have to design the games which are there in this amusement park, which should attract both the genders. So that's one interesting takeaway from this. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. So in this, what we figured out here is that again, based on gender, they figured out that girls were having a preference for a particular set of games and boys were having a preference for a particular set of games. Right? Now, based on that, they were now trying to decide that how should they plan the trip inside the park so that the revenue can be optimized, right? So what was happening here is that the girls were going for a particular set of rides, boys were going for another set of rides, right? Now, if it is a family, how do you get the revenue from the family in the optimal way? So I want the boy of that family to take the ride, I also want the girl of that family to take the ride, right? So how can I schedule the trip around the park so both of them get engaged, and from both of them I get the cash inflow, right? That is how I have to plan, right? So that is what this problem was trying to figure out, right? Let's go to the next one. Yeah. Okay, so now this was another interesting thing which was coming up, is that what was the age group of the people who were coming to this park, right? So they found out that 40% people above 40 and above were also coming in huge numbers to this park, right? Because what was happening is that the kids were accompanied by their parents, right? So because obviously you will not send an infant to the park without parents, right? So now if the parents are also accompanying the kids into the park, then how should I plan my various offerings so that the parents are also engaged, right? If the parents are sitting idle when the kids are doing these rides, etc., again that could also be a demotivation for them to come to this park, right? So here also these AI-based algorithms could help them to design that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so what I'm trying to talk about is that we're talking about lots of business models, and in that context what we're trying to figure out is that how effectively AI can be used there, and once I use those AI algorithms, how does it ensure that the costs come down, and how does it ensure that the revenues go up, right? Now say for example in this case of direct marketing, we all know that we get so many calls every day, which is trying to sell us some sort of a item. Somebody is trying to sell us a credit card, somebody is trying to provide us a loan, somebody is trying to sell us real estate. So something or the other is going on our mobile phones, and in most of the cases it's a serious distraction. Right? So can I have some sort of a mechanism by which I can find out from data that what is the preference that the customer has, and based on that can I go ahead and only make a suggestion on that product and not try and push everything to them, right? Okay, I think let's stop here and let me just talk about some more other interesting things. Let's say, for example, when you're talking about these AI algorithms, there is another interesting thing which is happening here is that these AI algorithms also have a challenge of hallucination. Right? It can create content of its own, and that becomes a very serious challenge. So, say for example, if so this has been demonstrated by these AI algorithms is that there was a question that was posed or a prompt that was given to this AI algorithm that lists the 50 most important articles related to economic development across the globe, right, which have been written about economic development. Right? So it listed 50 articles. So what was found out is that the first 4 articles it had listed does not exist in the world at all, right? So what it had done is that it had created the list of its own. So the title was its own, the author was its own, and the journal name was of its own, right? So what it was doing is that it's a predictive model, right? So it is predicting. Right now, if the prediction is wrong, then there's a high chance that it can actually give a lot of wrong results. So all these AI algorithms or generative AI algorithms has this very serious problem of hallucination, right? So it is giving an answer, but the answer is statistically correct, but contextually it could be wrong, right? That's a very serious challenge that these algorithms have. So we have to be very careful when we are actually using this algorithm, right? Because it might be statistically correct, but contextually wrong. So statistically it had created a name of a economic development paper, right? Or a paper related to economic development of a particular country, but that paper does not exist. So it has done a prediction and created that model or that paper, but that paper may not exist in the world. That can be a very serious issue. So I think nowadays, when you're using Claude and others, you find that they give a reference. So from where are they picking that up? Because if it is being picked up from no source and it has been created by its own, then that does not have any sort of sanctity or does not have any sort of strength to be used anywhere in any context actually. That becomes a very serious issue. Number 2 is that another interesting example which came up in terms of generative AI was a lawyer had created a case reply or a reply to a case using generative AI. So what they figured out is that, the judge figured out is that all the references that he was providing for or against the case that he was representing does not exist in the world. Right? So they were all created by the generative AI algorithm. So statistically it was correct maybe, but contextually it was not correct. Right? So that is the biggest problem that the AI algorithms have. So it can generate content, but the content may not be the right content. So we have to be very careful in terms of using this algorithm. Right? Now the next thing which is happening with these algorithms is that these algorithms are also prone to cyber attacks as well, right? So you might wonder, why should cyber attacks happen on generative AI algorithms, right? So it's happening because of the fact that the hackers want to actually tamper this model, right? So if I can tamper this model, what will happen is that the answer that this model will give is wrong. And if that answer is that used by some organization somewhere, their productivity will go for a toss because they're using a wrong solution for a problem. Yes. So what they're now trying to do is that hackers are now trying to actually do a thing called data injection. So if I keep on giving wrong data through the prompt to this generative AI, it can so happen that the AI or the generative AI can ingest that data, and once it ingests that data, it can actually get its the learning wrong, and it can give wrong results. Right? So if I keep on telling that Rahul Gandhi is the Prime Minister of India, Rahul Gandhi is the Prime Minister of India, if I keep on doing this n number of times, it might so happen that the algorithm might learn it, and it might throw the answer as that Rahul Gandhi is the Prime Minister of India. Right? So that there's a chance about that, and that's happening. And another thing is happening is that through prompt injection, some hackers, what they're trying to do is that they are trying to actually give wrong inputs, or they're trying to say that please override whatever algorithm that you have learned on the data set, and you just try to overlearn, or you try to forget that. So that has also been done, and that's again creating a lot of issue in terms of the outputs that this generative algorithm is providing. Similarly, what has happened is that another